Little pigs, let me come in. Not by the hair on your chinny chin chin. Here's
ROG Ally.
Hey everyone, I just wanted to say thanks again real quick for subscribing. We're now over 1,000 subscribers, which is something I didn't think was honestly possible. So again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. It really does mean a lot for everyone who has subscribed. If you haven't subscribed, don't worry, you don't have to. Everything will be timestamped in this video, so if you don't care about any of this or the intro, just skip through to see the settings and all that stuff and whatever. But for the people that want to listen to this section, there is a giveaway happening. So I did say over my community page on YouTube that when I got 1,000 subscribers, I would give away a recent full-priced release game. So originally it was going to be a voted based game, so I would have put like Resident Evil 4, Street Fighter 6, and what other games other people have wanted, Dead Space remake, things like that. And then it would have been put to a vote, and then that would have been the game that I gave away. And then I thought, okay, well, what if Street Fighter 6 gets voted in, or Dead Space or something, and people aren't into those games, and they end up winning? Well, then it's just, A, it's a waste of money on my part, and B, it's a waste of game data, whatever you want to call it, waste of a game for somebody else, right? There could have been somebody else that would have enjoyed that game. So that's why I decided to change it to, if you win, you get to pick what game you get, whether it's new or old, whatever. The only stipulation is that it can be a base recent release game. So in the instance of like Diablo, which honestly I don't know if I can gift Diablo at all, that would be the price of $89.99 Canadian for the base game, which is ridiculous. So that puts it well over $100 over with tax and everything where I'm at. But then at the back of my mind, I just kept thinking, well, if I'm going to be spending this much money, like not that I'm whatever, but might as well try and get something out of it, right? So I was thinking, okay, well, instead of just saying, hey, yeah, subscribe or do whatever, blah, 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 I thought, well, okay, maybe I'll put it up to like a challenge to the community, and that if we can get this video to 500 likes, which shouldn't be too hard to do because my last video had about 250 last time I checked, and if we get myself up to 1,500 subscribers, which I think should be okay and doable, and honestly, I'll probably be pretty loose with it, but whatever. But if we get to that goal, I'll give away 2 full-price games. And it won't be 2 to the same person, it'll be 2 to separate people. And again, it'll be same thing, so you get to pick whatever game you want with the stipulation that it's only the base game, not the ultimate super edition $200 collector edition. Because unfortunately I'm not made of money and the AdSense revenue stuff hasn't kicked in yet, any of that. So again, if you guys are interested, head over to my community page for details. This is the time where I would say, okay, if you want to subscribe or you're interested or whatever, subscribe now so that you can see the video releases and how it's going to happen. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this video sit up for a little bit, and then maybe about half a week I'm going to do another video, and there will probably be videos in between then, but officially about half a week. So I'll do today's Sunday, we'll do by next Friday. So if this video by next Friday gets 500 likes, and I'm up to 1,500 subscribers by then, I will give away 2 full-price games. That's the deal. Alright everyone, so we'll just start this off real quick then. If you haven't used YUZU before, you're going to want to download it from their website, and I'll link it here. You'll have the mainline build. There is YUZU Early Access that you can subscribe to on Patreon through their YUZU Early Access site. But if you don't have that, this will just be your mainline build. So when you first start it up, this won't be here. This is because I've already set it up. And you'll get an error saying something about keys and prod keys and firmware. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to download somewhere or extract somewhere these production keys and firmware. Now, I can tell you that if you have a first generation Nintendo Switch, you can get them. But beyond that, you'll have to find them elsewhere. But once you have them, what you're going to want to do is click on File. And then it'll be, if you have a mouse and keyboard, it'll make life a little bit easier as well. And then you'll click Open YUZU Folders. And now what you're going to want to do is go over to your keys folder and your firmware folder, wherever you have that. And then you will you'll go into, there's one labeled here, keys, so you'll have that there. And then you'll go into your keys folder and then just copy and paste them one from the other. And that's what you need to do with the keys. And then for the firmware, you need to go into NAND and then system, contents, and then registered. And then once you have that open, it'll be empty. And then you'll want to open up your firmware folder, and then you'll just want to copy and paste all of these files over into your other folder. And it's that simple. And now you should not get any errors as long as you're using the most recent up-to-date firmware and production keys and stuff. Again, if you have a Gen 1 Switch, all you have to do is basically just dump your game, your Tears of the Kingdom game or whatever, and then you can get all that stuff as well. Again, there are other ways to get it, but that will be on you. And then what you're going to want to do is download version 1.1.1 and all your desired mods. There is a nice little mod package on GBA temp. If you just search Tears of the Kingdom, FPS mod, GBA temp, you'll get the big package there, don't worry. So what you're going to want to do is go into properties. Oh no, sorry, we're setting up mods, my apologies, getting ahead of myself, jumping the gun. So what you're going to want to do, is right click and then right click open mod data location. And then you're going to copy and paste all those mods over into that folder. And then what you're going to want to do, so you can see here, these are all my mod folders that I have. You're not going to have as many, or you might. I just have this many because I'm testing a bunch of different ones. But the only ones you should really need are either Dynamic FPS++ or Dynamic FPS++ version 1.52 or 1.51. And then you mix that mod with either the 60, 30, or 20 stable static mod. If you're using Dynamic FPS++, disable all other FPS mods. If you're using Dynamic FPS version 1.5, use that with the stable static mods. And then as well, I have some visual fix mods here that are again available in that same download package, and we'll get into testing some of those as well. Alright, then what we're going to want to do to install version 1.1.1 is we're going to click on File, Install Files to NAND, and then you're going to have your update folder file, whatever it's called, usually an XCI or NSP folder. And then I've already installed it though, so I'm not going to bother, but then you would just hit install here, and then that's it. Then it just installs to it, and then you'll be able to access version 1.1.1 through properties. So here are the list of mods that I have, and this would be my recommended list of mods to use. I tested, as you'll see, I tested the difference between Dynamic 1.5.2 versus FPS++, and you'll see that these are the best results that I've gotten. There is a black screen fix mod that I don't have as well, and that's when you go to the weapon switch, there will be a black screen, so you can search that again. I believe it's on GBA temp as well, but just Google and Reddit your friend. So after having all these mods applied, you'll select which ones you want, and then you'll go over to CPU, and then you'll change, CPU, you'll change that over down to unsafe. You'll go over to graphics, and you'll leave this the same. Now, if you want to play with resolution, if you're overclocking and like put that up to 25 watt TDP, 30 watt TDP, it's not graphically intensive, it's more CPU intensive, but the pushing the resolution will obviously push the GPU a bit harder. So you could potentially push it up to 1.5, but I wouldn't honestly try going past that. But again, just experiment with that at your own risk. I'm just using 1x base resolution 1080p docked mode for my testing. And then if we move over to advanced graphics, we want to disable force maximum clocks and use fast GPU time hack. I believe fast GPU time hack was turned on by default, but the mods call for this to be disabled specifically in the FPS dynamic mods. So we'll have that disabled. We will then want to enable reactive flushing, enable async presentation. If I can click it, again, having a mouse and keyboard is going to be helpful. We're going to disable force maximum clocks, disable decode ASTC textures, enable reactive flushing, enable asynchronous shader building, disable use fast GPU time hack, and enable Vulkan pipeline cache. And those will be the only settings you'll change. You'll also change the accuracy level to normal, because I believe that defaults to high. That will affect your performance if you leave it on high. Alright, so getting into all the results and everything and the methods of how I got there, this is my Mount Doom run. So it's my custom benchmark run just outside of Hyrule Castle with the thunderstorms going and lightning and all that stuff. So it's a pretty heavy scene to run. I have been to Zora's Domain as well, and it does produce kind of similar results, but this one was just more consistent and me being able to see like, yes, okay, this setting change makes this difference, that setting change makes this difference, and so on. So getting into here, originally my Steam Deck settings were async presentation off, but I was just going through all the settings and testing them on the Ally, and so I decided to keep async presentation on because it was giving us better 1% lows, and the averages were still above 30 for both runs. We did get a 32 FPS average on our second run here, but the 1% lows were still significantly worse. So the 1% lows, if you're not sure what that is, those are like those moments of stutter that you're going to feel, the shader compilation or whatever. You're going to be getting shader compilation no matter what, no matter your settings, no matter how powerful your hardware is. I can run it on my desktop and I can still get stutters as well. It doesn't matter, it's the emulation, it's the nature of the beast. So moving on to the next one, we can see here there's ASTC texture decoding, and I changed that to it on and off. And we can see here with it on, it produced kind of the same results, but there was one thing that when you're loading in, the map is all pixelated and very artifact. So I can only imagine that there's other textures that would be artifacting and pixelated and whatever as well. Worse than already so, because there is some texture shimmering and flickering already, and that's just based on Yuzu. Timo from Deckverse had commented on one of my previous videos when I was running Tears of the Kingdom, and yeah, he basically said, no, it's the Mesa drivers for Steam Deck that are kind of pulling the heavyweight here and getting the better kind of image out of Tears of the Kingdom. To my experience and my knowledge, there hasn't been flickering like that on my Steam Deck compared to the Ally, but you'll see it in the footage here. So going with that, we're going to keep ASTC texture decoding off. Now going on to CPU safe and unsafe, my recommendation for Steam Deck was unsafe, but I decided to test CPU safe and unsafe as well, and it produced similar results, but the CPU unsafe did produce higher 1% lows, so we decided to go with that one as well. Now, going to the frame buffer size, that's the GPU setting of setting it between auto all the way up to 8 GB. So as we can see here, running it on auto with all the previous settings applied, we are getting pretty respectable frame rates and 1% lows. Now, as soon as we change that down to 4 GB, we just instantly drop the performance, and then I didn't even want to go through the hassle of doing an 8 GB run, but I just did one for the hell of it, and yeah, you can see it tanks performance pretty bad. So you're going to want to keep that on auto regardless. Now moving over to mod specific. So this was with every mod disabled, but with the FPS++ and the Dynamic FPS version 1.5.2. So it was A/B testing. So on my runs here for the FPS++, we can see that yes, we were getting about the same averages and about the same 1% lows. Now in my experience, at least on the Steam Deck, FPS++ did offer better results across the board. It appears as though it's not the case anymore, at least on Windows and the handheld space. So honestly, at this, I would say try them both out, see which one kind of works better for you, but honestly, there isn't too much of a difference. If anything, we could say that, yeah, Dynamic 1.5.2 performed a little bit better because it got didn't get a 29 average, whereas the FPS++ did. But anyway, so I decided to keep it with FPS++ just because I know that that's what I've been using, and I haven't had any significant issues with that as well on the Steam Deck. So again, this one might be subjective, but going forward, I'm just going to use FPS++. So now going in with all the visual fix mods as well, here we can see with the no mod runs versus the mod runs. So what the mods actually do is help bring up these 1% lows. So that would presumably happen as well with the Dynamic FPS mod as well. So these visual fix mods, there's a shadow tweak one, there's quality reduction, FSR. So you're going to want to keep the FSR, the quality reduction, all that stuff. You're going to want to have those mods on so that stuff doesn't happen, because that's just stuff that's happening in the background CPU wise that doesn't need to be happening, because we don't need to be dropping the quality because we're not constrained in the way that the Switch would be. And it's not wired the same way either. So now moving on to core isolation, because I know this is a big talk of the town for people that have just gotten the Ally and stuff. But this has been a well-known thing for like Windows handhelds in general, that yes, core isolation off does offer better performance. Typically, it's a pretty across-the-board thing, but you can see, at least in the case of Tears of the Kingdom, that yes, absolutely running core isolation on, or sorry, off. My bad. I got these mixed up. My apologies. So the on results are at the top here, and the off results are at the bottom. I am so sorry for that. So yeah, with core isolation off, we can see that we got a significant boost to our frame rates. Sorry, it's been a long data heavy day, guys. My apologies. I should do better than that. But yeah, sorry. So the 1% lows were significantly higher. So as recommended, regardless if you're emulating Tears of the Kingdom or whatever, keep core isolation turned off. And if you don't know how to do it, just search up core isolation turn off. It's in your Windows security settings and your system security settings. It's a super simple thing. You'll just have to restart when you make that setting change. Now moving over to the fun part of just, okay, let's push some more TDP to this. So doing our base kind of 15 watt TDP run, we got a 30 FPS average, 10 and an 8 1% lows, and then 3 4.1% lows. Kicking up to my mobile overclock is a 18 watt overclock. I say that's a good kind of overclock or wattage. It's not really an overclock because it's within design limits, but that's just a good range to keep for a mobile overclock in terms of a little bit extra performance and without the sacrifice or the big sacrifice to battery life. So we can see here, just even by upping it to 18 watts, we got a significant boost to FPS average of a 4 FPS average boost. Now, going down to 22 watts, we also did get an increase to our FPS averages as well overall. But we can see here that the 1% lows and the 0.1% lows are still pretty well staying in the same ballpark. There's not, even going up to a 25 watt and the 30 watt run, our best run was on the 25 watt run, but even still, like, it's in line with all the others. But what you're going to be getting is those moments where you're getting solid FPS, you're going to be getting real solid FPS. It's still, these 1% lows are those moments of stutter. So in my case, a lot of the times it's during the lightning bolts when they're hitting link, and then it doesn't lock up the system, but it'll cause a big stutter and a frame drop. Now, again, these stutters are kind of mostly during moments of inaction, for myself at least, but there will be moments during gameplay, combat, whatever, where you will get these stutters. But with the shader caching and how YUZU is designed is when you play it, you're building these shaders in the background, and then when you go and play it again in the future, you'll have those shaders already preloaded, ready to go, and there will be less and less moments of stutter. So essentially, the more you play, the smoother it will be. And as we can see here, just going up to a ridiculous 30 watt TDP, we can get averages of 40 FPS, but again, with those 1% lows coming down. So you're still going to be getting a stuttery 40 FPS. But honestly, if you're playing in a docked mode, you could set the FPS cap at 30 or something, crank it up to 30 or 25 watts and play it that way, and maybe get a semi-solid kind of 30 with dips and stutters here and there. But the choice is completely up to you. And that's honestly all my data that I have for this right now. If you guys want me to test anything else in the future, please let me know. I'm more than game to do more testing for Tears of the Kingdom. I'll always be keeping an eye on it, doing optimizations and stuff like that, taking in other people's recommendations and their experiences into account as well. But as you can see here, our best run on Steam Deck with SteamOS 3.5, SMT disabled, and like all these crazy tweaks just to get it to even a stable kind of 30. The best average I was able to ever get on this, I think, was 30 FPS, and that was at the 15 watt TDP. That was with power tools installed. That was with GPU clocks locked and you had to do all these tweaks. But at least with this is just, okay, here's some YUZU settings, and there you go. And then the outside tweaks that you want to do, whether you're running the auto 4GB, 8GB, but again, run auto. And then if you want to increase your wattage, if you're near the plug, then obviously you can play a little bit longer and harder, yeah. But again, so I'm probably just rambling again at this point, as per usual. So if you like the video, I guess this is the one video I'll ask you to give it a like and a subscribe, I guess, because if you want me to give away 2 games on this week, then I suppose this will be the only time I'll ever ask you to like and subscribe. Because if you watch my videos, you'll know that I don't typically ever do that. The only time I'll ever ask you to subscribe is when I have some upcoming content coming that people might be excited for. So for instance, hopefully near the end of June, beginning of July, I might be having a Nintendo Switch style emulation console in-house here for review, actually supplied through the company, sponsored. So if you're interested in things like that, by all means, subscribe. And then when the content comes out, if you're not interested anymore, unsubscribe. And after this contest and whatever's over, feel free to unsubscribe. But that'll do it for this one. Hopefully you guys have a good time playing Tears of the Kingdom. Let me know how your experience has been. Let me know in other areas and everything how it goes, right? Because I can't test every single area. It's a big game. So let me know your guys' performance. Let me know how it's going for you. Let me know how it's in those cities and those little towns and everything. But beyond that, I hope everyone has a great day.